What's up, guys? This is Jimmy with Hifly Strength Systems, and today we're going to be talking about why you need to stop foam rolling your lower back. So the main reason that you need to stop foam rolling your lower back is because your low back needs to be stable, not mobile in the first place. Secondly, your lower back, if it is actually in pain, you need to see a doctor before you start to self-rehabilitate. It can cause many more injuries or potential injuries if you try to do the rehabilitation process all on your own without a proper diagnosis by a doctor. That's probably more important than any of the other points I'm going to be making. And lastly, you can have pain in your low back because of other muscles, not your low back itself. So it may not actually be the lower back muscles that are causing pain. It could be something like your hip flexors or your hamstrings. And you need to see if it's the former before you check the latter, because if you mess with your low back, you can cause a lot more pain than you want. So let's talk about the first thing. First problem, you need your low back to be stable, not mobile. There's a few areas of your body that you want to keep stable, and that's particularly your lumbar spine, your knees, and your feet. So the lumbar spine needs to be stable because if you are squatting, benching, or deadlifting frequently and your low back is mobile, that means it's not resisting change. So it's not allowing itself to stabilize during a heavy load. Imagine if you were to squat and your low back starts moving around because, again, it's mobile. Imagine the shear forces that are occurring on the low back itself during that movement without any movement of the low back itself. Now, if the low back were to move, you could potentially increase the shear force on a particular part of your low back by an extreme amount, causing insane pain. Probably you bulge a disc if you started squatting with a crazy hyperextended back or a hyperflexed back, and it would not be good. Secondly, again, you need to consult a doctor. So if you do think that happened, foam rolling, if you do think pain is like a bulging disc is a problem, foam rolling a bulging disc is not a good idea. You need to go see a doctor. You need somebody to evaluate what the pain is coming from before any foam roller is even in use. Lastly, this is the probably best way to solve your lower back issues if you don't think it's a bulging disc or a slip disc or a fracture. This is going to probably help the most. Your hip flexor or your psoas major, this is a big ass muscle. It originates at the bottom of the T12 or the thoracic spine and continues its origination point from that point to the lower lumbar spine, the bottom of the lumbar spine at the L5 vertebra. So imagine an entire muscle basically that covers your lumbar, that is attached throughout your lumbar spine. But it also comes down through your legs and your quadricep and connects, I think, around the forget the area, but it connects in the quadriceps. So if you're under a heavy load and that area is tight and you're squatting, then that muscle is going to pull your lower back, your lumbar spine forward as you descend into the lift and put your lower back into a vulnerable position. That's going to increase the tension of the low back and probably some pain. However, if this muscle is mobile, then your low back won't have any tension force or as much tension force coming through as you begin the descent or go down into the hole of the lift. Because most likely you won't fall forward during the lift and you'll maintain the integrity of your spine itself because you'll have a more neutral spine and it will maintain its angle throughout the lift. So that's one of the muscles that can probably cause some low back pain. And potentially your hamstrings can also cause some low back pain, but more often than not, it's your hip flexors themselves. And this is purely anecdotal, but if you look at where the origination point is and think about it a little bit logically, you'll see that it would make sense that if your hip flexors are tight, your low back will be in pain if you do squat and deadlift frequently. Something that you can do to directly improve the pain, if that is in fact the cause of the pain of the low back, is mobilize that area. So foam rolling that area specifically by your quads, not your low back, by your quads. doing some goblet squat stretches, making sure you warm up, making sure essentially you're mobile enough to create a neutral spine and maintain the spinal angle during a squat or bench or deadlift. So if you're mobile in that area, then you'll be able to create a more stable and neutral spine throughout. So in conclusion, you need to first check with a doctor if you think you truly have a lower back pain or injury. Secondly, your low back needs to be stable, not mobile. And thirdly, it's most likely another muscle entirely that is causing the pain itself, and that muscle or area of groups of muscles need to be addressed to minimize pain during your lifting regimen. That's all I have to say to you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I encourage you all to rise from within. Peace.